on tight. This ain't no ordinary loot. UFC's the battleground where warriors collide. DIEHARD MMA podcast, we won't hide. Clint's gonna get deep, analyze each brawl from the underdogs to the champions standing tall. The fury, let your instincts rise. Feel the adrenaline rush, it's time to defy. DIEHARD MMA, we're in it for the thrill. Get ready for the madness. Let's make that bankroll spill.
Gee wee wees, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the late night edition of the Undefeated Post Weigh-In Show. I'm your host for this evening, the silky voice of your degenerate DIEHARD MMA podcast host, none other than Clint McLean. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. I cannot believe how many of you are here. It is a literal midnight showing, so good morning, everybody. Most of you are up into the wee hours of the morning, and some of you are probably, not the true DIEHARD degenerates, and you guys are listening to this thing first thing in the morning, waking up and getting your day going. So good morning to the majority of you. Make sure you go ahead and get that empanada and your shot of tequila going. How is everybody in the chat? What is going on, everybody? Jay in the house, Stu hanging out with me, Cole. Oh, what's going on, everybody? Green King 220, what's going on? Yeah, I am absolutely wiped, you guys. So as you guys know, I am a man of the people. I'm never going to leave you guys hanging. I gave you guys the option. Do we do this thing early without me being able to see the face-offs, or do we do it late and we do it really late? And that way we get all the information for the show, and the overwhelming majority said to do it late. So fuck it, we'll do it live. We'll go ahead and roll it. I just got done taking my wife to go and see Wicked, the stage play. If you guys haven't seen it, it's absolutely fantastic. It was the first musical I ever enjoyed, and if any of you are South Park enthusiasts, your boy is sitting pretty good after the musical move, right? Now, my daughter is absolutely obsessed. So we went to take her to go see Wicked for the first time, and she absolutely loved it. But that is the reason for my being late. So I do apologize to you guys. We've got UFC Mexico City to talk about this evening. And what we do on this show is we take absolutely every little tidbit of information we possibly can get. We wait until we see these weigh-ins and these face-offs, and I bring that information to you guys. So you're not missing anything. You don't got to waste your time. And I make sure you have everything you need to place a good bet on tomorrow's UFC fights. Never a bad read, never a bad bet. And every once in a while, we break out that tinfoil cap. It is the Undefeated Post Weigh-In Show, you guys. Thank you for being here one more time. Let's get into it. Make sure you hit that like button for me. The first fight of the evening we've got coming up here is Austin Hubbard taking on Maderos. Both guys came in at 156 pounds. This is Maderos that you're looking at, and I got to tell you, he's looking sharp, great shape, no problems on the scale. Kid looks good, can't complain. Austin Hubbard, I mean, somebody beat that poor boy's nose. He needs someone to get in there and fix it for him. Just crack that thing straight. I mean, yikes. But he is built very well, solid flex on the guy. You can never complain about the shape that he comes in. He's one of these guys that's trained at elevation for years. So he's always going to come prepared, always going to come in good shape. They size up pretty well. This was one of the shows where they've got an actual ceremonial face-off, so not one that I've got a photo of for you guys for the sake of the show, but they do size up very, very well. Hubbard is ever so slightly larger here than Maderos, and this one's interesting to me, you guys, because the line opened up and it was way, way high. Austin Hubbard was a big, big underdog, and the market has moved very steadily in his favor. Right now, Maderos is about a minus 155 favorite, with Austin Hubbard being the plus 130 underdog. I do want to shout out real quick Art C. He's been a guest on the podcast before, and our guy John Kelly. If you guys know fight numbers and you use their service, link in the description below if you want a discount on the service. Shout out to those guys looking at trends and things like that. Apparently, over the last couple of fight cards with elevation, there have only been like 3 of them. It's a very small sample size, but the submission numbers and the decision numbers have gone up drastically for these cards. And what do we always talk about, you guys? Tired people tap. So when you get in these fights and you're at elevation and the air is thin and you're having a hard time getting to the end of this fight, first off, cardio is king. But secondly, you'll see guys that are just too tired to finish a fight with strikes. And even if you're exhausted, you're not going to go unconscious. So we see a lot more submissions and we see a lot more decisions, and there's statistical evidence of it. So something to bear in mind for this fight card. I've kind of rethought some of the predictions that I've made on this card based on that information. I was expecting a couple more KOs initially, but now I'm kind of like, oh, okay, like that's a very, very valid data point that we need to take into account here. So I'm picking Mikel Maderos in this spot, you guys. I cannot argue with the thought process that Austin Hubbard has been around forever and he's got a wealth of experience, and you can expect him to be able to use that advantage here in this spot against a kid who's relatively new to the UFC. But I've liked what I've seen so far from Maderos, and I just don't know. Hubbard feels like he's almost kind of twilighting at this point to me for some reason. He's 33 years old. I know he's kind of, alternating wins and losses at this point. Went to a split with Alexander Hernandez. That's not a bad knock on you if you're making it to a split with Alexander Hernandez. That's kind of that mid-tier gatekeeper bar. So again, I can't really knock him for that, right? And you guys know I like to fade Contender Series kids. So this guy coming in from Dana White's Contender Series, he was originally at Factory X Muay Thai. Looks like he's moved out to the MMA lab. I think the lab is a very good place for this kid's skill set, the way he's going to strike and keep the range and the distance and attack the legs. This should be a leg kicking battle. And then I think Maderos, you can probably expect to be able to defend some of those takedowns that Austin Hubbard likes to use later in the fight. So if this kid gasses, if this kid gets worked up by the moment and slows down, I could see Austin Hubbard getting a finish with a late submission. Otherwise, I think this is a very, very, very close fight. The over 2.5 is minus 330. Bookmakers are expecting this thing to go the distance. So I'm not going to bite this one, you guys. I'm really not going to mess with it because I'm not laying chalk at elevation with a debutant in Maderos, or sorry, I think he's had one fight. Yeah, he had one fight under the UFC banner. I do apologize. So he beat Landon Quinones in his first UFC fight. So he's 1-0. But at any rate, this is a big jump up in competition for him. So I'm not laying minus 155 on him for that. And I do think it's got split decision written all over it. You guys know I want to be on the decent plus money side for that, but the line move is gone. We've already missed the money on Austin Hubbard if you were going to play that side of it. So I'm just going to sit tight. Maybe this is a fight that you can get involved with from a live perspective, but for the moment, I'm sitting on my hands. I'm going to pick Maderos to win, but I'm going to say it's a split decision. That way I cover my ass. And if anyone was like, bro, Austin Hubbard obviously won, I said split though. Like, I'm not right. I'm going to leave myself a little backdoor here. All right, guys, next fight, moving on. We've got maybe the best mustache in the game. I always will give Gabriel Miranda here props for that stash because I am jealous. If I could grow something like that, you guys, this upper lip would never be clean if I could grow something like that. Let me tell you, 145 pounds for both fighters here. I cannot believe Gabriel Miranda cheesing up there with how big this man is. Usually that cut is a little bit tougher for him. You've got Jamal Emmers, solid flex from this guy. I mean, abs for days. He's looking in great shape up there. No problem for him whatsoever. What really surprised me on this one, though, you guys, when they faced off, Gabriel Miranda is actually the bigger of these two fighters. I thought that Emmers was going to be the bigger of the two men. I really did, honestly. The problem for me, though, this fight, okay, I need to, I've got to flip hats here for you guys. With the tinfoil cap here, this is the violence guaranteed spot of the week, right? Absolutely everybody and their mother is laying the under on this fight. Everyone knows it's not going the distance, right? How could it? And for some reason, the under 2.5 was sitting at minus 200 all week. Today, it goes boop, minus 195. The fuck? It's like how every single person who has money on this fight is betting doesn't go the distance, is betting under, is betting violence. And it just a little 5-cent move the other way. It's like, what was that? That's the kind of stuff that scares the ever-loving piss out of me, because the book is like, let me just give you a slightly better number. Like that, it terrifies me. This fight should be as violent as it gets. Jamal Emmers starts fast. He's long. He's got accurate hands. He's got solid pop on his punches. And his opponent, Gabriel Miranda, has no gas tank. This man is a jiu-jitsu player. And if you don't let him get you to the ground, he gasses out within like 3 minutes. Now, he does look like he's in incredible shape coming into this fight. So, you can't read too far into that. And we have seen before that Jamal Emmers makes just egregious errors. You cannot trust this guy. So this is a complete stay away unless you're playing violence. And now, because of that little pip of a line move, it's got me worried about the violence bet too. So it does look like they've corrected that. The under 2.5 is minus 210 now. So it did, for a brief second, jump the wrong direction. And now it's reset and it's gone even further towards the violence side of things. So I'm sticking with my gut here. And I like the Jamal Emmers by KO. It's minus 105. I think that's the most likely outcome. What is really gross here is that you've got Gabriel Miranda and his submission prop is only like plus 450. That's like his only real path to victory. Because let's be real, Emmers is going to knock Miranda out, or Emmers is going to make a mistake and Gabriel Miranda is going to submit him. The only way this thing goes a full 15 minutes, the only way, is if Emmers is too tired to get a finish and he just sits on Gabriel Miranda's chest, right? Like if he triangles him back triangle, back control, and just sits on him, that's the only way this thing is going 15 minutes. So there's no way Gabriel Miranda wins by knockout, in my opinion. Very, very tiny little chance. And then there's no way whatsoever, a cold day in hell, before Gabriel Miranda wins a decision here. So his submission prop is essentially his money line, and they're only giving you 60, 70 cents on that. It's not a deal. It's not a bargain. And it really kind of sucks, because I would love to take the hot take here and be like, Emmers is going to fuck up and he's going to get submitted by Gabriel Miranda at some point in this fight. But I can't even seriously give you that opinion. I do think it's going to be Emmers. I do think it's going to be Emmers by knockout. And I've got a crazy idea on this card, you guys. I've got a crazy idea. You guys know I like my submission special, right? Like everybody's got their little thing that they do. The sub special was the one that I invented and got started on that. So I always try to put it together, but realistically, subs are hard to come by. So it's hard to hit 2 on the same card, much less 3 on the same card. Last year there were several times where I got 2 of the 3 legs, but I couldn't get the third one home because there were only 2 submissions on the entire card. So finding that third one was hard. I've started doing 2-leggers, right? And we've had more subs the last couple of weeks here in 2025. But even then, it's hard to narrow down the ones where it's actually going to be a submission and not a KO, and you don't slip up and make a mistake there. I might round robin submissions this week, because of the elevation, because of how many of these guys have a wicked offensive submission game. I might do a round robin set of parlays. We just, pick 3, 4, 5 of them that we like. And instead of trying to do the levels thing where I do 2-leg, 3-leg, 4-leg and hope to stack them all up or something like that, I might just straight round robin them and hope we can catch the majority of them. So if I do decide to do that, Gabriel Miranda by sub is on the list of potential submissions. for this card. So just we'll put a pin in that. Next fight up, you have got Hoffa Garcia taking on Vince from Hell Pichel, another man who we've got to give his flowers for that sick ass mustache. Look at Vince Pichel up there. Gotta love to see it, man. He's taking on Rafa Garcia. Sorry about that. My guy Tim absolutely just hammering everybody for calling him Hoffa, because that's the Brazilian thing, right? The R's turn to H's when you're from Brazil. And all of us are trained so hard on that now we just, any R is pronounced with an H, no matter where you're from. This guy's Mexican. It's Rafa Garcia. I am guilty. Thank you for the reminder, Tim. I appreciate the browbeating here in my speech. So both these guys, we've got Rafa 155, Vince at 156, and Vince is a decent amount larger than Rafa is, you guys. He's big. Vince is a big dude. He's been a big 155er ever since he got to the UFC. The problem is he's old. He's 42 years old, and Rafa does look like he's on the good stuff. I would love to make an argument for Vince Pichel. The problem is his takedown defense is egregious. It's like 30%. And Rafa, all he does is chain spam takedowns. Now, we have seen Rafa get tired before. We have seen him have cardio issues in the past before. And even in his last fight, taking on a much larger man. Now, obviously, you can't compare the skill sets, but taking on a guy like Grant Dawson, he just had a hard time getting into the grappling with a guy like that. And again, a completely different stylistic matchup, but I think the physicality of Vince Pichel could be a problem. And Vince has always had good cardio. Vince has always had decent striking that he can go to work with here. I think he can use a jab. I think he can steal some rounds with big moments if he's able to keep the fight on the feet. The question is, will he be able to keep the fight on the feet? And the answer to that is probably not. So I actually see this one being a Rafa Garcia decision. He's a minus 410 favorite. The over 2.5 is minus 330. So the bookies are really showing their hands here, and they're telling you by the numbers how they think this is going to go. Rafa by decision is minus 200. Usually you're going to get like a minus 135 or something like that if it's most likely the outcome, but they're like, no, bro, it's a parlay piece. Minus 200. You're not getting any kind of a discount on this. The thing I'm actually tempted on is the spreads. We talk about the spreads all the time, right? If Vince can manage to win just one round, even if it's round 3 where Rafa's completely exhausted and Vince manages to hit him once or twice more often than Rafa can manage the takedowns or the control, the plus 3.5 on Vince Pichel is plus 125. And that's kind of got my attention just a little bit here, because if it is a predominantly grappling fight, if we're not expecting either of these guys to get hurt seriously or finished, then it's going to be a close fight. My fear is that I play the plus 3.5 at plus 125, and it's 30-27 Rafa Garcia, because we're in Mexico, and the one round that was close enough to potentially give to Vince, they just don't. So yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you guys, this is a very chalky card. The Sphere was a complete letdown for Mexico. So I think they're trying to get a lot of those wins back here for the Mexican City boys. And a lot of these favorites should be the favorites. And most of them, I think, are going to cash. So we'll end up seeing how that goes. But I'm tempted. I'm very tempted. What's going on, everybody? We've got about 90 of you in here live at this point. You early morning dogs, you. What's going on? We've got, let's see, Salt Dirt jumping in here. Glenn Bott, top of the morning from Ireland. Love to see it. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you being here. Cole grabbed some members KO at plus 125. That's a nice snag there, man. That line has moved. James, good to see you in the chat. What's going on? And Outcast says Rafa. Love to see it. Oh my goodness. All right, guys, let's keep this thing moving, because I need to go to bed. I'm tired. Next fight up, we've got women's MMA madness coming here. Lupi Godinez takes on Julia Polastri, and both of them came in at 116 pounds. Look at Polastri up there. I mean, hair blowing in the wind. Like, I know why Brandon Olivas has a crush on this girl now. My goodness. We've got Lupi Godinez, everybody's favorite letdown. She's looking solid up there. She's in shape. Big old flip. Oh, there he is. There he is. There's Brandon. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Oh, man. You guys, this fight has got me torn. This guy has got me torn up into pieces. Perp Show, what's going on? Man, so you guys know I have told you, don't lay chalk on Lupi Godinez. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Like, you cannot lay chalk on Lupi Godinez. I love her overall skill set, but she always manages to let us all down at the worst times. She is such a good wrestler, and yet she chooses not to wrestle at times. Her takedown entries are not always great. And so I was like going back and like watching back some of her fights. The Elise Reed fight. Elise Reed has absolutely zero ground game, zero grappling whatsoever to speak of. That was the easiest lay of all time for Lupi Godinez to be a massive parlay piece back in 2023. And she gets mauled by Lupi early, but she manages to get her feet engaged. She manages to get her butt to the fence. She manages to walk her way back up to the feet. And I'm like, why do I not remember this? Like, I'm watching this and I'm going, this is not right, because Lupi dominates her and then Lupi submits her. She doesn't have success in this fight. What am I missing? Lupi cracks her with a big overhand left and drops her and then jumps on the back. Her main path to victory, the thing that absolutely everybody on planet Earth has been able to take advantage of Elise Reed with, Lupi actually failed at, and it took cracking her with a big punch to drop her to be able to get to the back and get that submission. She goes to a split with Tabitha. I'm not going to knock her for losing to Mackenzie Dern and Virgil Jandiroba. I'm just saying that one was a massive red flag to me. The fact that going, time traveling back there, that she was not able to just like out grapple Elise Reed the way you would think that she would. And then I also went back and I found Julia Pilastri's fight with Jasmine. One of the number one comments on Monday's show, which is why I love you guys. You keep me straight and locked in here. On the Monday show, a lot of people were like, Clint, do you not remember the Jazz fight? Guys, I didn't go back and watch the Jazz fight. So she's a 2 times Dana White's Contender Series competitor. You guys know I've got my theory, right? My completely untested theory about these 2-time Dana White's Contender Series fighters. I didn't go back and watch the first Jazz fight because it was so long ago. But now I did. I went back and I watched, and that's why we do this Friday show, right? I went back and I watched that Jazz fight. And Jasmine, who we know now is just an absolute beast of a woman, mauls this girl, takes her down, but she stays safe. She never gets hurt. She never gives up the choke, nothing. And then in the third round, she gets up and she just marauds her way forward. She just starts stomping her way towards Jazz, and she's throwing everything she's got, man. She's got a nasty clinch. She's got nasty elbows. And you go back and you look at the fight that she had with Corey McKenna. Guys, I bet Corey McKenna that night. I thought Corey was going to be able to just rinse her on the mat. Now, Lupi's probably, a more physical specimen than Corey McKenna. She'll probably be capable of having more success. But what we saw was a huge, huge, huge improvement in Julia Pilastri's takedown defense. She's got that giant badonkadonk on her. She's got those thick running back thighs. She knows how to get her hips back, and she just never stops looking for damage. This could be an extremely competitive fight, especially if Lupi doesn't stick to the game plan. Guys, I hate to say it, this is dog or pass. This is dog or pass. You've currently got Lupi Godinez minus 240 in that ballpark. You can get about plus 200 on Julia Pilastri. The plus 3.5 on Julia Pilastri is minus 145. And guys, that might be a gift, because when has Lupi ever looked like a minus 300 favorite when she went to the judges' scorecards? I don't know that she ever has actually paid that kind of a price tag off. Let me go back. Let me just look real quick. So the Tabitha Ricci fight, split decision, really probably could have gone either way. The Elise Reed fight, again, she, that one, until she got the club and sub, didn't look like it was all that. Didn't look like it looked like it was going to be far more competitive. Cynthia Calvillo, split decision. She lost the decision to Angela Hill. I mean, anybody who's anywhere near this level, she's fighting very competitively with. I kind of think this is a dog or pass spot. The more I look at it, the more I'm buying in to this Julia Pilastri underdog narrative thing that's kind of flying around there. And this is one of those ones where I kind of automatically hit the Lupi button, right? When I first looked at this fight, I was like, of course it's Lupi. Of course it's Lupi. And now looking into it a little bit further, I kind of think it's dog or pass. So I'm switching it up here on the Friday show for you guys. If I'm doing anything, I'm playing that Julia Pilastri plus 3.5. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if we end up getting that outright. I mean, obviously, you'd think Lupi probably has an edge on the judging if this thing goes the distance. Nobody got hometown cooking last week, so be careful, because I'll bet you the Mexicans are going to get all the hometown cooking, because none of the guys from London got the hometown cooking last time. And Brandon, I apologize. It's midnight and I'm out here making you horny. My bad. I'll keep the photos to a minimum here. K Deep, what's going on? Good to see you, Rogue Energy. How are we doing? I appreciate you. Let's see. Yeah, get some rest. I will. Don't worry. But we got work to do. And yep, Cole, you got it, man. You got it. It doesn't take that much to talk me into a women's MMA underdog. But I mean, the big thing is, okay, so I will tell you, Cole, what's been happening a lot lately, especially like last week, there were several fights, like the Guram fight, where I was like, guys, you can't lay this price tag. You cannot lay this price tag. Now, in 2024, it doesn't matter. The favorite wins anyway, right? In 2024, every single favorite got every single bounce and they won every single fight. But what happens in mixed martial arts, more often than not, the rest of the entire life of martial arts in general, these underdogs bark. And when the fight is close like that, the favorite doesn't always get their hand raised. And so when you get that, hey, don't lay minus 250 on this person who's untrustworthy feeling, a lot of times you should be betting the dog. Now, I've been passing more than betting the dog because 2024 beat the ever-loving piss out of my wallet, but dogs are barking in 2025. So I'm very tempted to, instead of just passing on it, taking a small stab or playing the spread on the underdog, because the dogs have been good in 2025. So yeah, I'm getting talked into it. All right, guys, my main event coming up next here. You've got Melquiades Costa taking on Christian C-Rod Rodriguez. 145 for Melky and 146 for C-Rod. You know, Melky doesn't look like he have any issues on the scale or anything like that. C-Rod looking good. Looks like he's filled out a little bit. He's been hitting the weights a lot, if you guys have seen any of like his Instagram training stuff. So he's looking good at 145 pounds. I will confess, I am a little bit nervous about C-Rod at 145. He is very small. When he sized up with Melquiades Costa, there's a big height difference here. Costa took a 155 fight on short notice. Remember when he got mauled by Thiago? And he was taller than Thiago. Obviously, Thiago was like about twice as thick as anybody in this weight class. So there was a big difference muscular-wise there. But C-Rod definitely is small. And it worries me. It does worry me. But he was cheesing, you guys. Watching this guy walk out for the ceremonial face-offs was so freaking cool, because he's got like family in Mexico, and even though he's like he's a USA guy, he knows people in Mexico, and it's been like a dream of his, I guess, to like fight down there. So watching him carry his flag and stand up there with the crowd chanting for him and smiling, like, that was really cool. As a fan of the guy, it was really a cool moment. I can't wait for this fight. So I did bite on C-Rod, you guys. I think he finally got some respect, right, in the betting market, and he's finally getting to where people are recognizing that he's extremely good. The worry for me on this one, obviously, is the Costa submission. I think C-Rod's better essentially everywhere, but that opportunistic submission game of Melky Costa is something that can strike at any point in time. Right now, you've got C-Rod minus 162, minus 165, somewhere in that ballpark. I laid minus 150 on him. He's the only bet that I have this week so far, and that's mostly because C-Rod is my ride or die. Like, I love this guy. I've been betting on him. Favorite dog, don't matter. I bet on him every single fight, and so far he's paid me out. Why would I jump off that train? I'm wanting him and expecting him to go ahead and go out here and get this win. Costa by sub is plus 600. C-Rod by sub is plus 400. I actually said I thought this was going to be a round 2, round 3 TKO for Christian Rodriguez, but after looking at my guy John Kelly's stats and my boy Art C, I actually think that we need to fall back kind of on C-Rod being the smaller guy and probably having to kind of hang on for dear life. There were a couple of moments like when Costa was on bottom against Thiago, he did the Kimura sweep move, right? Where he's attacking the arm and he's able to get the leverage he needs to roll his opponent. And that's a big, thick, heavy man that he was doing that to. C-Rod is a much smaller individual. So stuff like that in the grappling, that's the thing I'm worried about, is C-Rod just simply being too small for a very slick, very savvy grappler who can out-muscle him. So I worry about that. I kind of think C-Rod by decision is the most likely outcome in this case. I might have to still sprinkle that round 3 sub just in case. I do think C-Rod's going to come forward. He's going to look to use his hands. He's going to look to work the body, and you're going to get Melky Costa kind of doing that backpedaling, kicking type of style. That's how I see the fight kind of playing out in my head. So I think it'll be relatively close. And then C-Rod will be able to mix in the takedowns and put stamps on rounds that way, hopefully. And it'll end up being like a 29-28, or like I said, hopefully maybe he finds his way to a transition and attacks something in the grappling late in the fight. But you got to be careful, because we have seen C-Rod make a mental error and slip up and leave his neck hanging out there before. Juicy J, there's no shame in getting choked out by Julian Erosa. That guy's got a nasty submission on him. He's a legend. He's a veteran of the sport. So you can't even say that it's that bad of a loss to get caught by a guy like that when you're a young fighter. I don't think that's going to happen again. I think C-Rod's done the work. I think he's made the appropriate, fixes to his game. He'll be ready for it. But from what we saw with Costa just lining up that guillotine in his last fight, you got to respect it. You got to respect it. So I do think it's going to be C-Rod. I do think it's going to be C-Rod by decision. I do have C-Rod money line right now, but we'll see. I am nervous as this thing gets closer because obviously my ride or die guys become heart guys, and I want to see him win as a fan on top of, somebody who I identified as value back in the day. So I'm just trying to make sure I can keep my head above water here. James Krause in the house. What's going on? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. As long as he doesn't stick his head in a gilly, he wins. Gotta love the voodoo face paint from Costa. That's actually that's always a nice touch. MD, what's going on? How you freaking doing? Ryan, yeah, a lot of people are on the Costa dog train this week. I know this really is like the Civil War spot on the card this week. J Dub in the house. I'm sorry it's past your bedtime. I apologize. I hope I'm not keeping you up too late. I'm over here making Brandon Olivas horny, so I know I'm keeping you awake too. My bad. Gross infection. I'm happy to have you here. How you doing? Good to see you. Thank you for being here, even though it's a late show for you here tonight. All right, guys, let's keep it rolling so we can keep this thing on a nice tight leash here for me tonight. Next fight up, you've got Atiba Gutierrez taking on Jose Medina. 186 for both guys, and Gutierrez jacked. Oh my God, I cannot imagine. This guy has the most insane physique. Jose Medina, though, I got to give props to the guy. First off, love the crazy eyes. Absolutely love the crazy eyes. But does he look like he's got abs to you? I mean, like, this guy went from being the tubbiest, most out of shape 205er you've ever seen, and now I'm seeing abs. It's like, okay, like, he's actually getting his shit together. He's actually working. Now, the problem for me in this fight, once again, as always, guys, I bet Jose Medina in his last fight. Zach Reese is a bum. And it upsets me that you guys found that out on the wrong fight. I was supposed to cash like a plus 400, plus 500 on Jose Medina taking out Zach Reese because he's a bum. Unfortunately, he didn't do anything that fight. He walked forward and never threw a punch. He could have won that fight if he had just done something, anything. And now the cat's out of the bag and nobody trusts. I'm not going to be able to get the fade that I wanted. But now I look at this fight and I go, okay, I made the argument that Jose Medina could have won that fight if he had just done something. It's the same fight. It's the same fight. Now, Atiba just has no technical game whatsoever. His coaches are teaching him how to grapple in the middle of his Dana White's Contender Series fight. He's an athletic freak, and that's why he's there. He's a freak show fighter. If he cracks Medina early, he should. He probably will. I'm not going to be surprised. He's got a big height advantage. He's got a big reach advantage. He's just a physical monster in there. Medina's a soft body that could probably drop down another weight class if he really got his shit together. So I just don't see much of a path to victory for Medina unless Galtier completely gasses out. Now, this is a guy that goes out there and explodes and puts everything into everything he does. And look at that body. It's all muscle. That's going to take air. That's going to take oxygen. This is a live bet spot, you guys, because if Medina starts marching forward and barking at this guy, we've seen that work in the past before. And if Atiba isn't able to crack him on the chin and get him out of there, and you start seeing that panic look in his eyes and his mouth's hanging open a little bit because he's tired, that's when you hammer this guy. That's when you absolutely jump all over Medina live. And it's probably going to be bigger than that plus 400 number. Pre-fight, can't touch it. Pre-fight, can't touch it. The over 1.5 is interesting. At minus 165, the over 1.5 is interesting. You have to count on Medina's granite chin still being able to maintain the beating that's going to come his way early in round one. But if he can shoot a takedown or just slow the pace down even a little bit, this fight probably gets extended, and Gutierrez probably doesn't have the energy he needs to get that explosive finish early. So it might even go the full 15 minutes at that point. So I don't know. But yeah, it probably should be a Gaultier round 1 KO. That's obviously what the UFC is looking to set up here. But if this thing gets past the 4-minute mark, my finger is hovering over that button. You guys, my finger is going to be very, very close to the trigger as long as Medina is doing something. That's the entire trick to this. Is if Medina's walking forward and not throwing, I ain't touching it. If Medina's walking forward and throwing hands, or if he's shooting on legs, okay, game on. game on. We'll bet that kid live and we'll take a stab at it at a massive, massive number. But yeah, it's a spot where they're expecting Medina to go out there and be tough and get wrecked, which is probably what we're expecting here. Yeah, Rogue saying Gautier is the lock. And exactly, right? Like that's Glenbot saying Medina decision for the people. And man, the problem is I can't see it unless he does something. And last time he didn't do shit. So I don't know. I see the vision, Glenbot. I really do. I really do. Next fight on the docket is one that we really can dig into, though. Edgar Chairez taking on CJ Vergara, 126 for both guys. CJ Vergara looks fantastic on the scales. He's a really, really thick little meatball. You've got Edgar Chairez, who's skinny jacked, right? Like this guy is shredded up and he's long and he's lithe and he's skinny and you can see the muscle on him, but he's sucked out a little bit. He's all smiles up there though. He's good. He's good. When they face off on this one, Chairez war face paint is like the Day of the Dead, the Dios Mortes or whatever, however you pronounce that. Like he looks sick. He looks so sick for the face offs. CJ's a decent little bit shorter. I mean, honestly, not as short as I thought he was going to be. The size difference is not as intense as I thought it was going to be. And CJ is about twice as thick as Edgar Chairez. So like this is the one, you guys. This is the one. I actually think that CJ Vergara is live in this fight. Edgar Chairez is nearing in on a minus 300 favorite, minus 280-ish. You can get plus 225 or so for CJ Vergara. And I actually really think that CJ Vergara, if this fight goes, is going to make this competitive. Every single fight of CJ Vergara's goes the exact same. He gets rocked early, and then he puts a pace on people, and he has a high work rate, and he just wears you out. And when you get tired, he takes over. Edgar Chairez is another one of these guys that's got a poor gas tank. We've seen it in the past before that he slows down, he gets tired. He's got explosive power. This guy can kill you on the feet. This guy's got a wicked submission game. He's another one where we probably want to look at that submission prop and see if we want to put that in the round robin. The number is terrible. It's like plus 250 or something like that. But he definitely has that submission upside, right? He could get a finish out there for us. But I have gone to war with CJ Vergara before, and it's been a very unpopular choice to do so. But whenever I do, this guy fights for my money, and he is actually getting a step down in competition here in this fight. He fought Ramazan Timarov, who is just a monster. He fought Asuam Abayev, who looks like he's getting close to the contender circle. Like now he's getting back down in the ballpark of the contenders, these guys that are a little bit on the more disappointing side, these guys that have a little bit more problems in the gas tank area. That's where he's getting back into the ballpark of, and that's where he beat Vinicius Oliveira and he TKO'd a guy like Daniel Lacerda. So like he's got skills. He's got a work rate. He's my Sam Hughes of this weight class, right? Like he's just going to get out of round one and then put a pace on you until you break. And he does it very, very well. Now, I think this is a decision, though. I don't know that he's going to he doesn't mix in the takedowns or anything like that. So unless Chairez like jumps Gilly or something like that, I don't think this fight's going to get to the ground. So I think CJ Vergara plus 3.5 is a decent look. And CJ Vergara for the upset, by decision, by split, something like that. I think those are going to be very, very live here in this fight. I would love to take a poke at like CJ Vergara late, like the round 3 prop or something like that. But he's not really a submission guy. He's a ground and pound guy. And we've seen Edgar Chairez in there with Josh Van and just refusing to die. Like you can't take the beating that you took from Josh Van and then be expected to get finished by CJ Vergara. Now, granted, in this fight, he might be more tired because of the elevation, so it's possible. But I also think CJ Vergara might end up being tired. So, round 3 by itself, let me look. Let me see what that number is. CJ Vergara round 3 is 22-1. CJ Vergara round 3 TKO is 28-1. So not a big enough difference between those two. You probably just play the round 3 just in case he wraps something up. But I actually think the decision would be the most likely outcome if he was going to do that. And then Edgar Chairez is a finishing monster. If he finishes or if he wins this fight, it's probably by finish more often than not, I would think. And I expect CJ Vergara to go out there and put up a good fight. But this is another one where I think you can jump in live. This is another one where I think that you can jump in after the first round because he's going to have to get through some heat early to be able to take over the fight and get in there. Let's see here. Yeah, Josh was saying CJ's chin holds up. Timarov finished him with body shots. Yeah, and that's the thing. When Timarov cracked him, remember, he chased him. Like, that was CJ's whole thing is when he gets hurt, he sprints. He just runs away. If Edgar Chairez does that, he'll be huffing and puffing. He'll be gassed immediately after trying to chase this kid down. Timarov never let him off the hook. Rogue saying plus 220 on FanDuel. Yeah, the plus 400 by decision is interesting in my opinion. We'll see. We will see. All right. Next fight up, you guys, we have got Rolando Rodriguez and Kevin Boros. This is a very intriguing fight to me. How Boros 125 looked very good on the scale, looked like he was in very good shape. He's giving everybody the shush. You've got lazy boy, my guy, Rolando Rodriguez. Now, he took the box of shame up there today. Unfortunately, he missed weight by 1 pound, 127 pounds. So he missed. He got fined. Fight's going to go ahead and continue. And he was having a day. When he got up there, he was like flexing to the crowd. He was partying up there. He's having a good time. Didn't give two shits that he missed weight. When these guys face off, they size up pretty well. This is a very good face-off. Rolando Rodriguez a little bit on the thicker side, I would say. You know, one thing I noticed is you go through his stuff, and he is another one who is working very, very heavily, I think, on his physique, doing a lot of weight training, and I think that's the reason for the weight miss. Now, I don't have any inside information or anything. I'm literally just speculating here, but I think the reason that he missed the weight was because he packed on muscle. Because if you look at all the stuff that he's training, he is putting serious work in. And you look at the flexes and he's doing like Arnold poses and shit. I think he's taking his strength and conditioning extremely seriously. And then I think he botched the weight cut because of the extra muscle that he added onto his frame. Honestly, though, I like everything I see from him. And I don't even mind the weight miss here because he's going to have the advantage on the judges' scorecards. He's going to have the advantage size and weight wise. And with this smile on his face, I don't think he's at all bothered by missing a that weight miss. So it's not one of those ones where I think he sucked himself out or killed himself trying to get down where he's going to be damaged in the fight. I think he probably got stopped by the doctors or something, and he was fine as soon as he rehydrated up for those ceremonial weigh-ins. Money's come in on Boros, and I'm very tempted to jump in on the Rodriguez side at this buy low price tag because he was a much larger favorite earlier in the week. Now, I understand he's nothing to write home about. He's no prize. His striking is okay, and his wrestling is decent. His jiu-jitsu game is all right. I mean, he's a black belt. He just got awarded his black belt, by the way, and I actually think that's a decent little option to throw a log on the fire here for the submissions. He's plus 350, and I know a lot of people are saying he's not going to submit Boros, but we have seen Boros get tired. We have seen Boros get taken down. We have seen Boros slow down. So all those things at elevation, I think you're going to get a Rolando Rodriguez who's going to be extremely back hunting happy. He's going to try to take this thing to the ground. He's going to try to body triangle this guy. He's going to try to wear him out. And of the two finished losses Kevin Boros has, one of those is by rear naked choke, and that is the best move of lazy boy Rolando Rodriguez. I think it's a round 2, round 3 sub, you guys. I think round 1 is tight. I think he's going to have to car crash with Boros. He's going to have to show off that chin, that durability that we know he's got. And then once Boros slows down, he'll start to slowly give up those takedowns. And that's when you get that transition to the back and the rear naked choke from lazy boy. So I'm thinking round 2, round 3 sub. It's 10-1 and 18-1 respectively. The submission prop probably goes in the parlay, the round robin that we're talking about doing. But I like Rolando Rodriguez. And even if it's close, even if it's hairy, this kid has 2 million followers. Like the UFC wants to get behind him. They want to make him a star. People like him. People are gravitating towards him very naturally. I think this is a spot where Rodriguez should be able to get the win, and I fully expect him to. And not only because he has the social media following, but, you know, the skill set and fight-wise as well. The next fight here, we have got David Martinez and Simon Oliveira. You guys, I posted a picture up of Simon. This picture does not do it justice. Simon is dead on the scales. Dead. Like there is no somebody on Twitter said that you couldn't wring any more water out of that sponge. It's like you said it, you absolutely nailed it. There is not a single bit of liquid left in this man. He's pale. You can see his skull. He's sucked out as it gets. This was a rough weight cut for a guy that's been gone for 2-3 years. Now his opponent, on the other hand, looking extremely motivated, intense, looking very thick, looking very healthy. This guy, David Martinez, is a bit of a mystery to me. Lots of outside footwork, likes to move around the cage, likes to walk you onto punches, stuff like that. I'm not sure he's my type of guy to look at really getting a finish, but his opponent, Simon Oliveira, is a terrible offensive wrestler. He's a pretty heavy-footed offensive striker. He's also a guy that looks like he tires out and slows down, and he's coming off of a long layoff with a terrible weight cut. He seems like a classic UFC throwaway. So I can't get behind the dog on this one at all. David Martinez minus 500 seems a little rich for my blood, but I think that's probably okay. And then David Martinez by knockout. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the week when I did my prop show. I think I gave out David Martinez as one of the options on there. I think it was plus 140 matching the decision where they were like, pick your poison. It's either going to be a KO or a decision. We don't really know. We'll let you guys decide. That number has dropped. Money has come in on the KO more so than the decision. And I think that makes sense. He's talked about wanting to go out there and get the finish to really start off the card. I think he's got an opponent that's compromised. So I think that's totally an option, totally possible. I've got Martinez, just trying to decide what to do with him because you guys know I hate those types of minus 500 price tags, but he's probably parlay fodder, to be frankly honest. Yeah, Robert saying I out for Martinez. Look for Martinez via head kick. I like that head kick look. I really do. He does like to walk people into those, and that's his best shot. My only worry is that he can get taken down, and he does give up his back. So again, we talk about the subs. Oliveira by sub is kind of his way to potentially win this fight. And if he gives up the back, the rear naked choke is going to be there. Real quick, you guys got to shout out Bet Openly. You guys know peer-to-peer gambling, 1% juice, all the good stuff. Link in the description below. You guys will save money using this platform moving forward. But I'm doing a contest. We're doing totals tomorrow. It's a free entry contest. Use the promo code DIEHARD. It'll get you in there for $0 entry, $50 first prize. All you got to do is pick over or under totals, and the winner gets $50. Come hang out, come play. Link in the description below. And then I want you guys to check out Kalshi. If you guys have ever done any type of sports trading before, they opened up UFC lines for the very first time at the last big pay-per-view card, and now they're doing a big push for March Madness. So especially you can see the trends as far as buying and selling for how these basketball teams are going for March Madness. Now, I know nothing about basketball. I barely tread water in March Madness. I tail a couple people in March Madness, but Kalashi's a really cool tool, and they're running some awesome looking stuff right now. Apparently, if you get on there and you get blah, 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 I'm totally butchering this. I apologize, guys. I'm really tired. You get a $10 kickback once you've traded $100 on Kalshi if you use my promo code. So jump on there, check it out, give it a try. And yeah, Outclass saying the Outcast kid saying Clint really got me at 3 a.m. Eastern playing Resident Evil 6. You gotta love it. I hope you got a Red Bull or a Monster with you while you're doing that. Full on throwback, man. That's like the college days right there. I remember I beat a Resident Evil game. I back in the days when you had to rent the shit because it was on a disc. I rented I think it was RE5. Was that the one where the guy was built like a refrigerator? And I was trying to beat it before I had to take it back so I didn't have to pay for a second day for it. And I literally was up at like it was like 4:30 in the morning, and the final boss of the game was so gimmicky I had to actually look up a guide to help me beat him because I literally could not find a way to kill this guy. I had reset and retried it like 20 times, and I was about to break my Xbox. And I finally ended up getting it done because there was like a cheap little sneaky way that you could get it done. Memories, good times. I slept for like 12 hours straight after that. All right, guys, finishing this up here. Vince Morales, 136. Raul Rosas Jr., 135. You know, Vince looks really good up there. Gotta give the man credit where it's due. So does Raul, though. Raul's putting some serious work in. We've seen the photos online and stuff like that. This kid is in incredible shape. Looks like he's filling out to that frame. This is one where I will, just real quickly, guys, how do we not take a poke on Vince Morales by submission? Like, seriously, how do we not take a poke on Vince Morales by submission? You've got Raul Rosas, who's a minus 500 favorite, and that's all well and good. But remember when his father grounded him to protect him from an elevation card because he wasn't ready to do that yet? Because this kid wrestles so hard and so fast, he tires himself out every single time he steps out there. Remember when C-Rod dominated the guy because he gassed out and he wasn't able to go hard for the full 15 minutes? Like, I know Raul probably is on good supplements now, and I know he's had time to develop and stuff, but he's still only like 19, 20 years old, so he's still extremely young. And you've got Vince Morales, who's a veteran, a guy who's been working extremely diligently on his grappling game, a guy that's hitting Peruvian neckties on former UFC fighters. Like, this is exactly the kind of guy that could spoil the show. I think this fight ends by submission one way or the other. I actually think Rojas is going to either dominate the grappling and Vince is going to be in trouble and not going to be able to handle the kid's power and strength, and he'll give up like a rear naked choke or something. Or honestly, I can absolutely see Raul getting tired again at elevation, gassing out, and Vince Morales finding a way to pull a rabbit out of the hat. You know, in his last fight, Vince needed 15 seconds at the end of his last fight with Elijah Smith, and he would have tapped that kid out in the 3rd round after a brutal war. Now, the one thing I do want to say, shout out, Wiz and Liam, they did a show a little bit earlier, and Wiz was talking about how apparently Vince Morales broke his nose, and that could be two red flags here, 2 red flags. Obviously, we know Raul Rosas Jr. is working very, very diligently on his striking game. So if he connects on a broken nose, that's going to suck. That's going to hurt. It could bleed very easily, which can, the blood will drip down the back of his throat, cause breathing problems. That's an issue in its own, right? So if he gets punched in the face, that can be a problem. But like I mentioned, if the nose starts bleeding easily, that can affect your breathing. If you're not able to breathe out of your nose, he's going to have a hard time getting oxygen. And we're already at elevation and he's already on short notice. So I'm not sure how that's going to affect him. And he could get even more tired, which could lead to him getting out of there. So I actually think that the fight ends by sub. I'm never the guy that plays those types of props. I don't think I've ever played one in my life before. Fight ends by sub is plus 180. And I actually think there's a decent chance that that's the move here, because I can see Raul getting a rear naked choke, especially if Vince is just kind of not able to keep up. And then if Raul does what Raul does, I could see him slipping up and falling victim to a very savvy veteran who's got excellent submissions and serious opportunistic upside. Vince Morales also sizes up very, very well with this kid. When they did the ceremonial face-offs, I was surprised. I thought Raul was going to be a decent bit larger than Vince Morales. I am extremely tempted on the Vince Morales round 2 and round 3 sub props. It's 40-1 and 50-1. And I just, with what we've seen literally on tape from these two, with how young this kid is and what we just saw from Vince in his last fight, and then how insane those numbers are, I mean, that's like a how do you not type of spot for me. I'm trying to keep it tight, you guys. I really am. I'm trying to find winners. I'm trying to find good, solid bets. But these are the spots where I can just, the devil pops up on my shoulder and it's like, Glenn, it's 50-1. It's like, how do I not take a shot at that? Yeah, I mean, I gotta say Raul, but it's like, this is definitely a fight where you want to be close and ready live betting, because Vince is a better striker than Raul is. And Vince is very dangerous with the grappling, that if Raul gets tired, Vince can take over this fight. So just be warned. This is the one where it's like PSA, maybe don't put Raul Rosas Jr. in every single parlay you've got. If you're going to parlay stuff up this weekend, just tread lightly, guys. As always, tread lightly. All right. Big stuff coming up next year. Body bags, Joe Pyfer, and he's taking on Kelvin Gastelum. Joe looks amazing. He looks great. Huge flex up there, looking good. And Kelvin Gastelum looks like a bag of milk. I mean, he looks like me when I'm on spring break and I'm proud of myself for losing 5 pounds and I can take my shirt off. Like, I don't know what he's doing. So, I mean, word on the street is that Kelvin's been out at elevation training for this fight, and maybe he just looks soft like that because he's once again back up at 185 pounds. Like, I'm not sure, but like he sounds like he's confident. He says he's in shape and he's ready to go for this one. But I see no evidence of it. And then you've got Joe Pyfer, who's coming out talking about, back surgeries and stuff like that. Exceptionally concerning. Joe Pyfer is a guy who already struggled with his cardio over the course of a 15-minute fight in the past, and it wasn't at elevation. So, like, the big thing for me, though, these guys face off, and it looks like there's a full 2 weight classes between them. Like, Joe looks like a 205er. Kelvin looks like a 170 pounder, and they face off, and it's like, damn. Like, Joe does like the up and down look thing at Kelvin, that it's like, really? Like, you're the guy I'm fighting? Like, he's tiny. He really does look tiny up there against Joe Pyfer. I wanted to make an argument for Kelvin, you guys. I looked for any argument that I could make for Kelvin Gastelum. I tried. And the only thing I can come up with is Kelvin by decision. Once again, 3rd time we've said it on this card. If Joe beats the brakes off of him in round 1 and can't get the finish and then tires out, Kelvin will put a pace on him. Kelvin's got hands. Kelvin doesn't stop, and he's at home in elevation. He will keep coming forward, and he will make this guy work. I could see him cracking this guy, winning a 29-28, like stealing the 2nd round and then pouring it on him in round 3, maybe even getting like a round 3 TKO if Joe's just completely gassed. But with that size differential, like, I think it's probably just like Kelvin by decision. It's almost exactly like CJ Vergara here, right? Like, he's got to go through hell, and then his opponent's got to tire out for him to have a chance to win here. I think Joe more than likely hurts Kelvin Gastelum early, but Kelvin's got that legendary chin, you guys. And that's that. I am so torn on this fight. I can't find a spot on this fight because I can't say Joe Pyfer wins by round 1 KO because who KOs Kelvin Gastelum? Nobody. I can't say Joe Pyfer by sub because unless he submits him in the first round, which is really not Joe Pyfer's thing to do, he's probably not going to submit him because he won't have the gas to wrestle for 15 minutes. Well, but then do I want to trust Kelvin Gastelum with my money? Not particularly. He's the far smaller man, and he's going to have to rely on coming from behind to get a win. So is that where I want to go? Not pre-flop. Certainly not. So like there's so much live opportunity on this card. I will say Joe Pyfer finds a way to win this fight. And I don't like it. I don't like it one bit, but that's really all I got for you, unfortunately. This is a very, very tough fight with both guys being extremely untrustworthy. Dustin, what is going on? If you missed the beginning of the show, I took my wife and daughter to go see Wicked tonight, so I apologize. I'm doing the show way late because I was taking the girls out for a nice night on the town tonight. So I do apologize, but I'm glad you're here. Glad you made the live show here this late this evening or this morning, depending on where you're at in the world. Co-main event, you guys. Drew Dober takes on Miguel Torres, and Drew Dober, as always, the chin himself. Just look at him cheesing up there, big old flex, looking good, looking like a model. You know, his opponent here. Man, I do love me some Manuel Torres, and he looked good. He looked in shape. These guys size up not very well. I mean, Manuel Torres is a decent bit bigger than Drew Dober is. Drew Dober is a decent bit thicker, though. He's got that big old back on him, right? So this one's going to be interesting. Dober 155, Manuel Torres 156. Everyone this week seems to be on Drew Dober, and this fight is playing tug of war on the betting line. You've got minus 115 on the Manuel Torres side. Drew Dober was a minus 120 favorite at one point during the week. So people are buying back. As soon as this fight hits plus money on one side or the other, it does swing back the other way. I understand everybody is taking the angle of Manuel Torres. It can be touched on the chin and hurt. However, he's got the size bully advantage in this spot where he's going to be so much bigger and so much longer than Drew Dober. I know Drew is far more technical, I feel like, but he is kind of running afoul of a bad situation here recently. You know, 1-3 in his last 4 fights, 2 of those coming by KO loss. We've also seen Drew has really been out of his depth when it comes to the grappling in the past before. And Manuel Torres is kind of sneaky when it comes to his grappling ability. He's a club and sub guy, hurts people with the hands and then jumps all over the back and looks to sink in chokes and stuff like that. But that's the kind of thing that could absolutely work on Drew Dober. And once these guys with granite chins, once it goes, like there's no getting it back. You just stop wanting to get hit. Like that ability to bite down on the mouthpiece and walk forward and take more brutal damage, like it just goes. You don't have it anymore. You don't want that shit anymore. So I very much could see Drew Dober falling victim here to Manuel Torres. I'm going to say Manuel Torres. And again, he's a guy that could go in the submission prop round robin, plus 400 on him to win by sub. I think sub is far more likely than the KO is. I know, again, he likes to work with his hands, but I just think he'll take any opportunity he can to get the fight to the ground where he can protect his own chin and then put that size to use where he can get the back of Drew Dober or something like that and get the rear naked choke game going. So I'll say Manuel Torres by sub, but it's a coin flip, and it's a very violent coin flip that I'm not sure I want to get involved in. The under 1.5 is all the way down to minus 215. So bookies are expecting this thing to end in round 1, and I really don't see much of a reason why it doesn't. What's going on, Troy? Good to see you. J-Dub, how you doing? Thank you guys for being here. All right, guys, main event of the evening, and I got the wrong slide queued up for you. I am exhausted. We've got Steve Erceg looking good, no issues, no emotion. I love this guy. And then he's taking on my guy, Brandon Moreno. When they faced off, Steven Erceg is a big dude. I forgot how big he was. Brandon Moreno, I expected to be a little bit closer to the same height as him, but Steve Erceg is a very large human being for this weight class. This is a tough fight. Like every fight on this damn card, you know, the last couple cards, there are a couple easy spots. Even if they're like gross and greasy like Kevin Holland, it was an easy trigger pull for me. It was a spot where I was like, I have to bet that, right? Like there aren't any of those on this card because I'm like, yeah, Brandon Moreno probably should be about a minus 225 favorite or so here. Well, he's minus 245. So like there's not a whole lot of meat on the bone on looking for anything here for this fight. I think Brandon Moreno's got the back class. He's got the experience. He's been in wars with the best this division has to offer. He's had the belt before. He lost his last 2 fights by split. Like he could very well still be the champion of this weight class right now. He could be. That's the truth. So Brandon Moreno is as elite as it gets, but he's older, which is a problem at this weight class. He's smaller, which sucks anytime you're fighting. And Steve Erceg is also a guy that's very, very well rounded. He's got a good submission game. He's got good submission defense. The striking defense is a bit of an issue, but Brandon Moreno being so much smaller than he is and being more of like a volume and pot shot type of guy, I'm not sure he's going to be the guy to crack that chin. So I think it's a Brandon Moreno decision, you guys. That's something I gave out on my prop show this week, is I think Brandon Moreno by decision makes a whole lot of sense. I could see a late club and sub from Brandon Moreno. His boxing is super clean, and he's got a very good grappling game. He can scramble with the absolute best this division has to offer. So if he hurts Erceg later on in this fight, we've seen Erceg shoot for late takedowns. We saw that be the problem for him against Pantoja. I could see Brandon Moreno taking advantage of something like that, whether it's him getting hurt or Steve making a poor choice and being able to lock up a good position and submitting him late. 40-1, 50-1, 55-1 for the rounds 3, 4, and 5 subs for Brandon Moreno. And like we talked about, we're going to be targeting submissions for the most part, and plus 800 for Moreno by sub is a half decent look. But when you ask me, Clint, seriously, look me in the eyes, be serious, no bullshit. How do you think this fight ends? I think it's Brandon Moreno by decision. So that's what I'm going to be looking at this week, you guys. Appreciate you all so much for being here and sticking with me here this late, you guys. I am absolutely wiped. I'm going to go get my ass cuddled up in bed, and I'm going to be with you bright and early tomorrow morning. I will get my card locked in first thing for you guys. The only bet that I've actually put all week is I am ride or die with my guy, Rock. A little bit of a line movement there, nothing to write home about. There's a couple of dogs I'm very interested in on this card after kind of looking at it. CJ Vergara by decision has my attention. I think it's a good live bet opportunity. I think I might pull the trigger on Julia Pilastri. I might. The plus 3.5 on Vince Pichel has my attention. I like the plus 3.5 on Pilastri as well, actually. But I think the majority of the chalk rolls on this card. Vince Morales by sub is going to be the greasy long shot this week that we probably go ahead and just have to poke those round 2, round 3 sub props, you guys. Appreciate you for being here once again. I'm out, you guys. Love you. Be safe. Bankroll management, protect yourselves. Don't gamble more than you're willing and able to lose. Be safe out there during March Madness. Let's get these UFC streets going tomorrow, you guys. Appreciate you all being here. Thanks for the love and support as always. Let's roll.